If you write out a beautiful hour-by-hour homeschool schedule on Sunday night and then abandon it by Tuesday morning, you're building your schedule backwards. As a systems coach, I've audited hundreds of schedules for overwhelmed women. And when I started homeschooling, I realized that parents were making the same exact scheduling mistakes that failing businesses make. They're trying to force a rigid corporate structure into a highly volatile human environment. So today I'm going to show you how to build an adaptive homeschool schedule that survives real life. It survives sick days, client emergencies, toddler meltdowns, whatever life throws at you. We're going to cover why traditional time blocking is failing you and how to build a rhythm instead of a roster, the psychology of the loop schedule, and the one scheduling rule you must never break if you want to protect your peace. Because a rigid schedule does not create discipline. It creates guilt. And guilt is the fastest path to quitting homeschool entirely, whether it's for the day or like forever. Okay, so if you sit down with a blank planner and you have the best of intentions and you're writing 8 a.m. breakfast, 8:30 math, 9:15 history, 10 o'clock snack, 10:30 science, this is called rigid time blocking, and it is a complete trap. It assumes that you operate in a vacuum where nothing goes wrong. And it assumes that your 7-year-old will grasp fractions in exactly 45 minutes. It assumes that the baby will not blow out of their diaper by 8:25 in the morning. But what happens when the math lesson takes 45 minutes instead of 30? Right? Your entire day is instantly derailed. And by 9:15, you're already behind. So let's talk about the psychology of feeling behind. Okay, when you look at a clock and you realize you're off schedule, your brain registers a failure. Your cortisol is going to spike, and then you enter this mild state of fight or flight. You start rushing your kids, your tone changes, you become a little short with them, they pick up on your stress, which makes them anxious, which makes their cognitive process slow, the learning stops, everybody's frustrated, the fighting starts, right? You've built a schedule that requires perfection to function, which means it's honestly just a broken system. A system that only works on perfect day is not a system. It's more of like a fantasy. I'm all for perfect days, but really, honestly, who has them? If you're running a business alongside homeschooling, this rigidity is even more dangerous. If a client calls you with an urgent issue at 9, then your rigid schedule starts to shatter. Then you spend the rest of your day feeling like you failed at both your business and your parenting. So let's clarify what an adaptive schedule is not. This is not a free-for-all where you go with the flow and hope that learning happens. That's abdication, not adaptation. It's a rigid timetable that dictates every single minute of your day and then punishes you for being a human. This is not a copy and paste of what works for an influencer on Instagram who has different kids, different income, a different life. It's not a copy and paste of your best friend forever who's also homeschooling, because she also has a different life than you do. An adaptive schedule is a flexible framework, okay? It bends without breaking. It absorbs the shock of a bad morning and allows you to recover in the afternoon. So instead of roster times, you need to find a rhythm of events. Think of your day in blocks of energy, not blocks of time. So, sorry, I know you can hear that. You have high energy blocks and low energy blocks, right? Math and language arts require high cognitive energy from both you and your kids, whereas read-alouds and art and maybe history documentaries require lower energy. So you anchor these blocks to existing habits that you already have. Breakfast is an anchor and lunch is an anchor. So don't say math is at 9. We're going to say high energy subjects happen between breakfast and lunch. So here's a concrete example of how this plays out in real life. Let's say your rhythm is we wake up, we have breakfast, we do high energy block, which is math and reading, then we do outside time, then we have lunch, and then we do a low energy block, which could be history or science. So on a perfect Tuesday morning, breakfast is at 7:30 and you start math at 8:15. On a terrible Wednesday, the dog throws up, the toddler refuses to eat, and you have to answer like urgent work emails. Breakfast doesn't finish until 9:30. If you had a rigid schedule, Wednesday's already ruined, okay? You missed the 8:30 a.m. math slot. But with a rhythm, Wednesday's perfectly fine. Breakfast finished at 9:30. What happens after breakfast? The high energy block. So you start math at 9:45. Your sequence is protected even if the clock changes. You never fall behind, you just shift your rhythm forward. Sound good? This is crucial for business owners. So if you need to take a 10 a.m. client call, you insert that into the rhythm. The kids know that after the call, the block begins. The sequence provides the security and predictability that children crave without the suffocating pressure of the clock. So the second reason your schedule fails is that you're trying to do way too much. You look at the curriculum catalog and you think you have to do every single subject every single day on top of all of the other things that you're trying to add in, right? You're treating your homeschool like a public school. You're trying to cram 7 subjects into a 6-hour window, but you don't have a classroom of 30 kids. You have a highly efficient microenvironment. In a public school, a math lesson takes an hour because the teacher has to manage behavior. They answer 30 questions, they transition to large groups, right? In your living room, that same math concept might take 15 minutes of focused one-on-one time. So when you try and force a public school volume into homeschool rhythm, you create this unnecessary friction. You're going to exhaust yourself and your children, and then you end up doing a lot of shallow work instead of a little bit of deep work. So this is where the loop schedule comes in. This is the most powerful tool for an adaptive homeschool. Instead of assigning subjects to specific days, like history on Tuesday, science on Wednesday, art Thursday, right? You put them in this continuous loop. So here's how you build it. First, you're going to identify what your daily non-negotiables are. For most of us, that's math and reading, right? Those happen every single day during your high energy blocks. Everything else will go into the loop. So your loop might look like this: history, science, geography, art, and whatever the requirements are for your state. I know in Texas, you have to have good citizenship as well. I don't know where it is for everywhere else. That's way too much for me to understand. Those are the basics. On Monday, you're going to do math, reading, and then the first thing in the loop is history. So on Tuesday, you do math, reading, and the next thing on the loop is science. Wednesday, you have a massive headache, right? The kids are cranky and you have a business deadline. So you do math and reading, and then you stop. You don't touch the loop. When Thursday comes around and you feel better, you do math, reading, and you look at the loop, and what's next? Geography. See how wonderful that can be? If you had assigned science to Wednesday, you would feel like you failed and you fell behind. But because it's a loop, the work simply just waits. It eliminates the concept of falling behind entirely, and then you pick up where you left off. The system is going to remove decision fatigue, and you never have to wake up and ask, what are we doing today? You look at the loop, and it's a pre-made decision that protects your energy. Now, I need you to keep in mind, of course, whether you're doing, a year-round curriculum, whether you're doing 9 months, whatever that is, just make sure you're still on track. You can't have 17 days in a row of, we'll do it tomorrow, okay? This works when you work it. Now, an adaptive schedule is just only one piece of the puzzle, okay? If you're starting from scratch and you're feeling completely overwhelmed by all of the curriculum choices out there, you have to watch the next video where I break down the 3 things that you have to do before you buy a single piece of curriculum. I'll see you over there.